recently, there has been some concerning news surrounding the future of physical games. It seems like it may completely die out altogether in the near future. Last week, GTA 6 was announced to be a code in the box with no true physical option, not even having part of the game on the disc or multiple discs, just nothing. And this week, Sony announced that they will stop the production of physical games for the PS5 in January 2028. As someone who has been collecting and owning physical games for basically my entire life, this news was pretty depressing, but I'm not giving up hope. Even though sales of physical games are much lower than they were 10 to 15 years ago, there is still a dedicated group of physical gamers out there who will speak out against decisions like this. And with movements like Stop Killing Games fighting for the preservation of games, and Gen Z pushing back against anti-consumer decisions from big tech companies, I think there's still a chance that Sony could reverse their decision. But in this video, I will be discussing how all of this could affect Nintendo, and if we have to worry about them ditching physical games, because I think it's a fair thing for people to be concerned about. Just recently, last year, with the launch of the Switch 2, they started to produce game keycards, which are essentially just digital games that are playable via a cartridge, and they have neither of the benefits and both of the disadvantages of both physical games and digital games. And concerningly, we saw Pokémon Pokopia, a game published by Nintendo outside of Japan, released on one. And it has also been found that Switch 2 cartridges cost 3 times as much as producing PS5 discs. But despite all of this, I don't think Nintendo is going to ditch physical games for their first-party games anytime soon. At the very least, I feel like they will continue to release them physically for the rest of the Switch 2 era, or about 6 to 8 years. And with game keycards, they really don't seem like a format that Nintendo was fully responsible for. It mostly seems like something that was created out of pressure from third-party publishers. The Switch 1 era already had multiple games where a download was required, with the data not being on the cartridge, so this really isn't a new thing. And despite Pokopia being in a franchise that Nintendo partially owns, it's still somewhat of a separate thing. It was likely the Pokemon Company and Koei Tecmo testing the waters here, not necessarily something that would fully affect Nintendo's first-party releases. We've also seen that physical games for Switch and Switch 2 make up much more of the total software sales than they do on other consoles. Throughout most of last year, physical games accounted for about half of the total software sales, which is pretty substantial. And even now, despite the fact that digital sales have increased last quarter, physical sales still account for over 30% of total software sales, and I suspect the reason for the decrease in physical sales was because of Pokopia. Compare that to the PS5, where physical sales are only about 15% of total software sales. And digital sales only surpassed physical sales very recently for Nintendo, so removing the option to buy games physically would alienate a large audience, much more so than Sony or Microsoft. And Nintendo has also built up trust and tradition of offering physical games that are fully on the cartridge or disc for many years now, so quickly removing that option would not sit well with people. So realistically, we shouldn't have to worry about Nintendo ditching physical games for now. I would say in about 5 years there might be some concern, but I don't think game keycards and Sony's decision will be too indicative of what Nintendo does with their first-party games. However, I will say, if you care about the future of physical games, do not be afraid to be vocal about it and voice your opinions. If you hate Sony's decision or game keycards, let the companies know how you feel, even if it's not directly impacting what games you purchase. Physical games are important in a lot of ways, because they can be resold, traded, gifted, borrowed, and properly preserved, so it still has a place in modern gaming. So I think having that option is very important, and I really hope there's at least one publisher out there that continues to make physical games forever. Ideally, it should be the whole industry, but I hope that Nintendo at least sticks to releasing their first-party games physically for the foreseeable future. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. And thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!
Can you do this with digital games? Didn't think so.